You're now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves all of us, including him over there, her over there, and you, especially you, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together in one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one book. This masterclass, daily masterclass, if you didn't know, is every day, so mark your calendar. It is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is how to know if your work is working. Now, this is an important question to ask, and is an important question to answer. Because, first of all, it's a very smart question to ask, because who wants to be putting a whole lot of time and effort and energy, all of your important resources that we talked about, your important investments that we talked about back in Masterclass 609. Who wants to be putting all of that into something and then find out only after you've made a lot of investment that your work is not actually working, or that you're working on the wrong thing, or that maybe you are working correctly, maybe on the right thing, but you were angling, your approach was incorrect. And so it's important to ask, how will I know if my work is working? And it's important for you to get answers so that you know what to continue, what to discontinue, what to do more of, and what to do less of, and maybe when you just need to throw the whole thing in the trash and start all over from scratch. So it's a very important question, since many of us, especially those of you who listen to a show called Work on Your Game on a regular basis, I'm assuming that you're not afraid of the work. You understand that there's some work that's going to have to be put in doing what you do. We put this effort in, we place a bet on whether or not that effort will produce the desired results, right? We know that we're placing a bet. We talked about the gamble of life back in Masterclass, was that 15, I believe it was 1555, but I'll tell you in 1 second what Masterclass that was. But knowing that you're playing the gamble of life, is 1551, that is the Masterclass talked about the gamble of life. Knowing that you're placing a bet, of course, you want to at least have those odds as far swung in your favor as possible. So wouldn't it be useful if there was a framework in place that we could utilize consistently to gauge if and when the effort that we're putting in is actually worth it? I think the answer to that question is yes. So that's what today's topic is. How to know if your work is working. Point number one, you must know your KPIs and you must measure them. What is a KPI? For those who don't know, that is a key performance indicator. Anyone who works in marketing, or actually any kind of business where there is a strategy in place, where there's an actual system in place for doing the work, there are key performance indicators involved. Now, maybe you are not privy to what they are. You should be privy to what they are. Maybe you're only privy to some of them. Maybe the ones that are just the ones that have anything to do with you. Maybe those are the ones that you know about, and then maybe you're just kept in the dark when it comes to the rest of the key performance indicators. But anytime that you want to know if your work is working, you must first of all identify some key performance indicators for yourself. And again, those are key performance indicators, not just any performance indicator, but the key performance indicators. And then you must measure them so that you actually know when you are when you're performing the way that you want to perform and when you're not. I mean, that's why they're key performance indicators. The phrase says it all. These are the key things that tell you if your performance is working or it's not. It will indicate, are you performing at the way you want to be performing, or are you not? How close are you to the optimal level, or how far away are you? That's what a key performance indicator is, and that's why it's such an important point. That's why it's the first point that I'm giving you here. You must remember, as I say all the time here at Work on Your Game, life is a performance-based business, and the only purpose of performing is to produce a result. So how would you know when you are performing and getting towards results? Do you have any way of knowing that in your work right now? If you don't have a specific measuring, you don't have a specific system for measuring your performance, and thusly measuring how close or how far away you are towards producing results, or how much result you're producing or how little result you're producing. If you don't have these key performance indicators in place, then what are you doing? I'll tell you what you're doing. You are running on a treadmill. Everyone here knows what a treadmill is, right? It's when you're putting out a whole bunch of effort and a whole bunch of energy, and you're investing a whole lot of time, yet when you're done running, you are still in the exact same damn place. Now, we're talking about exercise. Running on a treadmill is a good idea. Well, if we're talking about progressing in life, running on a treadmill, metaphorically speaking, is a bad idea. All right, is where you're using up all your energy, all your time, a lot of your resources, yet you are not moving forward at all. You are standing still in the same spot. People run on treadmills in life, metaphorically, when there are no key performance indicators, and thusly they have no idea if their work is working. You must get some indicators in place that will help you measure your performance and measure your results. Now, every industry is different. Every job is different, and your business may be unique from other businesses in your industry. However, whatever you're doing, you must decide what are the key indicators that we are making progress. What are the key indicators that show us that we're doing the right thing, that we're getting closer to where we want to be. All right, any business coach, any business system that you get into, anyone you work with, and it can be in any business, a basketball trainer, a fitness trainer, a direct, just a straight up business coach, any type of consultant who comes into your company, anyone who ever works with you who is a true professional is always going to either ask you for, or they will help you install a system of key performance indicators. Otherwise, how the hell do you know if what you're doing is getting you closer or further away to where you want to go? You wouldn't know. That's a trick question. In a hair salon business, for example, your key performance indicator, one of them could be how many appointments are getting set every day, or how many stylists are actually working. Because in salons, the way that I understand it is that sometimes the chairs, you could be a full-time employee there, or sometimes you kind of like get to rent out a chair. You pay for the chair, but whatever money you make as a stylist, you get to keep. And barbershops out here, they do that sometimes too, but I think people kind of have a choice as to how they want to do it. Your key performance indicator could be how many people are walking through the door, how many people are walking out of the door, how many heads are getting cut every day if you're a barber, how many heads getting done if you're working in a salon. You need to figure out what those key performance indicators are. If you happen to have if you're a YouTuber, your performance indicators could be how many views are you getting on each video. You can measure those numbers over time to see if you are getting better or if you're getting worse. If your engagement is going up, and it may not be the number that a random layman may look at. Maybe a person on the outside looking in might see how many views you're getting on your videos, but your key performance indicator may be how many comments are you getting on the video, or how many people are subscribing to your channel, or how many people are clicking on the link to go to the website of the sponsor who is sponsoring your video, because that's the most important thing to you, how much money you're making off the videos rather than how many views you're getting on them. Because listen, 100 views from the right people is better than 1,000 views from the wrong people. So you need to figure out, this is why you got to look a little bit deeper than maybe just the surface numbers as to what your key performance indicators are. Now, if you want a book to reference that will give you some really good, more deeper information on this exact subject, you should look up the book called Good to Great by Jim Collins, where he talks about this, the key performance indicators for business. There's a certain phrase that he used. I can't remember the phrase off the top of my head right now, but if you read the book, you'll know the phrase, so you won't have to worry about me giving it to you. Go read the whole book. Again, it's called Good to Great by Jim Collins. That book, if I ever do another top list of my favorite books, I know I've done a couple top 5 lists. I would have to actually make like a top 20 list right now, because I've read so many books and there's so many of them that are so great that I can't even narrow it down to a top 5. I'll have to do that by category. But again, that book is one you should check out. If you're a basketball player, for example, I had a coach once. Here's what his key performance indicator was. He said, he wanted us to drive to the basket and be aggressive driving to the basket in the games. And he said this: we want to make more free throws in the game than the other team attempts. That was one of his key performance indicators. Now, he never labeled it as a key performance indicator, but he said it so many times that I remembered it and we all knew it. And then in the games, he would aim for that. Now, he wouldn't say it like, he would say it in practice. He wouldn't say it like during the game or before the game, but it was one of the things that he noted. And I remembered it when I start thinking about this right now. What are some ways that people can mark key performance indicators? That can be one of them. If you're in the sales business, online sales, one of your indicators may be how many opt-ins are you getting on the page, or of course how many conversions, or how much money are you getting out of a customer lifetime value, maybe over the course of a year or over the course of 5 years. If you have a membership site, how many people are actually signing up to the membership, how many people are keeping their membership, and you actually getting recurring payments in the membership. These are all things that you can look at when it comes to your key performance indicators, but you have to figure out which ones are most indicative of your success in your business. Again, it may not be the same for everyone, and it may not be the surface information that any person from the street could find. It may be something that goes a little bit deeper that paints you a better picture of what's going on in your business. So you got to decide on what measures indicate that things are actually working for you. And then eventually you got to create a hierarchy of those measures to decide which one is the most important key performance indicator which designates the success or the failure of your business. Point number 2, and remember that everything in life is a business, just in case you didn't know. So even if you're not a quote unquote business person, or you don't consider yourself an entrepreneur, you're still in business. Your whole life is a business. Point number 2, today's topic is how to know if your work is working. Number 2, do not get married to your habits and routines. Yes, you heard me correctly. Now, habits and routines are an important thing to have. Discipline people have habits, or every human being has habits. Disciplined people have routines for the most important things in their life. What I'm telling you is not to not have them at all. What I'm telling you is don't get married to the habits and routines of what you do. Because the habits and routines that do not produce results based on the way you're measuring your key performance indicators, they got to go. All right, those habits and routines are success killers. The reason they become success killers is because they are habits. They are things that we do automatically. We do them without thinking. We do them over and over again. They are taking up time. They're taking up space. They're taking up real estate, but they're not actually helping us get anything. And you can die slowly from your own habits if those habits are never examined. This is something that I talk about in my book, Work on Your Game. I talk about how every single day your habits must be given a performance review. You need to be checking your habits and asking yourself, is this habit actually helping me get better, or is this habit making me worse? Because we know that nothing is neutral in this life. Everything is either making you better or is making you worse. So you got to check your habits and routines and see if they're producing results. And if they are not, they have to go. And they have to go as soon as possible. There's no grace period. Now you can figure out, maybe you can make an adjustment to a habit. Maybe some habits are salvageable. It's kind of like if you ever been in a car accident, and if you ever worked in an auto body shop, or you ever been to one, when a car gets into an accident, if it's a bad enough accident, sometimes you got to look at the car and you got to assess, okay, is it worth it to invest in fixing this car, or should I just scrap the car and sell it for parts and just get me a whole different car? Now, if you have car insurance, which I think is required damn near everywhere in the United States, and you get into an accident, the insurance adjuster is going to come and decide that. They're going to decide, okay, as an insurance company, is it worth it for us to pay for you to get this car fixed based on how much it's going to cost and how long it's going to take? Or should we just write it off and say, all right, this car is totaled, this car is wrecked, officially totaled by, again, as the insurance company indicates, and we'll just write you a check and you could use that money as a down payment to go get yourself a new car because it's a wrap for this car right here. So you have to decide, what are your habits and routines can you fix? Can you take them to the auto body shop and fix them and make adjustments so that they start working for you? And which ones are so far gone that you just got to write them off like the insurance company would and go get you a brand new one? That's a great analogy that I just came up with right there. I'm good at this. All right, that's why I do this show every day, because I get better over time, as you can see. If you've been listening for any amount of time, you listen tomorrow, the next one's going to be even better. But anyway, if you realize that one of your habits or routines is not salvageable, it has to go. It has to be deleted. You got to get rid of it, and get rid of it now. Not tomorrow. Don't make plans to get rid of it. Just get rid of it. Point number 3. Today's topic is how to know if your work is working. Number 3, you must be ruthless in your pursuit of results. I'm pausing there to let that one sink in. Be ruthless in your pursuit of results. Human beings, we are creatures of habit, and this is a good thing in many ways. It saves us a lot of time and a lot of energy, and it lowers the number of decisions that we have to make on a day-to-day basis. The fact that we have habits, that we are creatures of habit, so we don't have to think about, oh, how do I tie my shoes, or we don't have to remember to breathe or chew our food or digest, or we don't have to tell ourselves to sleep. We just naturally do it. At least if we have the right, we're sticking to our circadian rhythms and our sleep patterns. All these habits, these habitual things just happen by themselves. We don't have to remind ourselves to blink so that our eyes don't dry out and we end up losing our vision because our eyeballs are dry. We don't have to remind ourselves or tell ourselves to do that. These things happen naturally. Those are the unconscious, involuntary habits, but also the habits that we have just ourselves. So if you know how to drive a car, if you've driven enough times, you could do it without thinking about it. You could be on the phone the entire time, from the time you get in the car to the time you get out of the car, and still get to your desired destination safely and soundly without endangering the life of anyone else, simply because you have so many habits of how you drive a car that you don't even have to think about it. You can do it unconsciously. So habits are a great thing for us as human beings in many ways, but the other side of our tendency as habits, and let me actually one more thing about habits. It lessens the number of decisions that we have to make, so we don't have to think about things so often. If you have a habit of what you eat for breakfast, or what you do after dinner, or the certain routine and process and ways that you do certain things, like washing the dishes or cleaning the house, or how you get ready to go to the gym in the morning, how you lay your clothes out the night before so you don't have to think about it in the morning. It lowers the number of decisions that you have to make. And in our brains, there's this thing called decision fatigue. The more decisions you have to make over the course of a day, the faster you are draining your own brain energy, and the sooner you are going to be out of brain energy and you're not going to be able to do anything else. So the more habits and routines you have in place, the fewer decisions that you have to make. So then when you do need to use some brain energy to make a decision, maybe a very big decision, you have plenty of energy to draw from, because you haven't used it all up deciding, all right, what am I going to wear today? Which way am I going to drive to work? What am I going to eat for lunch? What am I going to put in this protein shake? These are things that you do consistently. You don't have to think about them as much. However, now we get to this point, there's another side of this tendency of us being creatures of habit, is that sometimes we will continue on certain habits that are doing absolutely nothing to aid us in producing results. Everyone who's listening to me right now, I guarantee you there's at least one habit in your life that is not getting you closer to a desired result, yet you continue to exercise this habit. Now, how am I so sure and so able to say this? Because first of all, no human being is perfect. Second of all, being that we are creatures of habit, all right, habits are hard to break. So when we have habits that are not leading us towards the outcome that we want, it may not be a habit that's destroying you. You may not be a masochist. You're not trying to become a loser in life. So it may not be a habit that's like causing terror in your life and just making everything horrible. However, it is a habit that is asking for an investment of your time, effort, energy, attention, maybe even your money. But the habit is not helping you get anywhere closer to where you want to be in life, yet you continue to do it. I know for a fact you have at least one thing in your life that you know fits this description. You might have 5, 10, or 20, but you got at least one. So what you're going to need to do, knowing this, that all of us as human beings have habits that are not helping us, yet we keep doing them anyway, is you have to choose voluntarily. You have to go against the grain of your human nature and fire some of your habits. The reason why habits become habits is because they're easy. They reduce the amount of effort that we need to use. They reduce the amount of energy. We get things done a lot quicker when we're doing them by habit than when we have to consciously think about them. So all of nature is driving you towards having as many habits as possible. So you have to go against your nature as a human being and fire some habits that are not working for you. This is a conscious thing that you must do. It's not something that's going to just automatically happen. You have to consciously decide to get rid of these habits, eliminate some routines, all in the name of results. Because remember, we are in a performance and results based business. So knowing that your business is all about results, when you realize that one of the habits that you have that is taking up your time, an investment of your time, the most valuable thing you have in your life, and it is not getting you closer to achieving your business aim of producing a result, that should be a no-brainer for you to get rid of it. But it is actually a full brainer because you have to constantly be thinking about it to get rid of a habit. You will not eliminate a habit by osmosis, by just hoping that it happens. It won't happen. All right, habits become ingrained. They're habits because they're habits, if you understand what I'm saying. If you don't, rewind the last 3 minutes of the show as I explained it. Now, this sounds easy, to eliminate some routines in the name of results, right? It sounds easy. It sounds even motivating to some people. Like, yeah, Dre, I'll definitely eliminate some of my habits if I'm trying to get a certain result. It sounds very easy, but it's not so easy to do. The thing about habits is that they're rewarding. Every time we act on a habit, we feel personally rewarded. We feel good. We just exercise that habit again. We feel good doing things that we always do. And there's probably some neurochemical involved in that as well. These habits, though, however, the ones that are not helping us get to results, they keep us in the same space in life. So in the pursuit of results, you're going to have to murder some of your sacred cows. You got to get rid of some things. Tim Ferriss, in the book The 4-Hour Body, he told this story of this restaurateur by the name of Grant Achatz, who has a restaurant called Alinea, which is based in Chicago. And according to what Tim said in his book, this restaurant won the award for like best restaurant in America, like 3-4 years in a row. Now, this book, The 4-Hour Body, came out. This is almost 10 years ago when the book came out. But he told this story about this guy, Grant. And I looked up the restaurant Alinea. It was still open the last time I looked it up. I'm looking it up right now as I'm talking to you. But one of the things that happened in this restaurant with this guy, Grant, is that he had the restaurant and he was doing well, and he was, I don't know if it was winning awards just yet. Maybe it hadn't started winning awards yet at this particular time. The reason why Tim brought it up is that Grant found out that he had cancer. I don't remember what type of cancer that he had, but he found out that he had cancer. And as all of you know, when someone has cancer, they don't always beat it. Sometimes cancer beats them and they end up losing their life. But Grant was able to defeat cancer. And once he defeated cancer, he came back to his restaurant business with a new focus and a new approach and just a new way of looking at life. And he decided that any sacred cow that he had in his mind when it came to the way he ran a restaurant, he was willing to sacrifice it to have the best possible restaurant. He was just going to live his life all out and live it to the fullest after he had faced death and saw that maybe he hadn't made the most of his life. And he decided that he was going to make the most of whatever opportunity he had now because he had faced down death. And this is something that I've talked about in previous episodes of the show, especially when we talk about having a sense of urgency. I've talked about urgency, and I'll tell you a couple episodes where we talked about it. Masterclass number 1172, your lack of urgency is your biggest problem. And also masterclass number 408, a sense of urgency, how to develop this key success tool that when people face death and they survive, usually they, at least the stories that I've heard, is that they start to approach life with a whole different mindset and a whole different energy and a whole different vigor, simply because they realize the true value of life only when they see that this is about to be taken away from them. So the rest of us who have never faced a life or death situation, we have to choose to have this urgency, whereas those people who've gone through those situations, they kind of naturally have it. Now, I don't think we can consider them lucky because they had to face down death. I'm not sure you want to face down death to get that urgency. Maybe you might want to decide to just have it on your own. But anyway, this guy, Grant, a Katz, when he went through this situation, he approached his restaurant so differently and they decided to do different things. So instead of being open the normal hours from, let's say, 9 o'clock till 12 o'clock every single day, they started operating only in a very specific frame of hours. I'm looking on their site right now to see what hours they're open. So this restaurant is a normal dinner type of restaurant now. I don't remember exactly what the hours were in the book that I saw that Tim talked about, but they're open from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. There are other restaurants who do that, so that's not quite so radical. But there were things like, from what I remember, instead of, well, you know, when you go to a restaurant, you sit down and they bring you a menu, right? And you can choose what you want to eat. So at this restaurant, Alinea, they don't bring you a menu. They just bring you food and you just eat it. You don't get to tell them what you want. They decide for you what you're going to eat. And then after the meal is over, then they will bring you the menu. So that right there is probably something that I personally have never experienced a restaurant like that. That would actually be interesting. I'd be interested to go to a restaurant like that where they just decide what I'm going to eat and give me the food, and then they could tell me about it afterwards. I would at least want to go through the experience. But that's something that I'm not sure anyone here has ever experienced that, but that's the kind of different thing that a restaurant like Alinea does. And being that they became so popular, and I'm not the only person in the world who knows that they're one of the top ranked restaurants in the world, their waiting list just to come to their restaurant and get a reservation was like, I don't remember how long it was very long. You had to put yourself on a waiting list and wait for, I don't know, months, a year, just to be able to come to their restaurant one time and eat. And I'm telling you all of that to tell you this, that you had to be willing to sacrifice some of your sacred cows in the pursuit of results. Grant decided he wanted to have the best restaurant in the world, and because he faced that life or death situation, he became ruthless in getting rid of all of the things that he thought a restaurant needed to be, and he started making a restaurant that he wanted to have, and the result is he's gotten this great success. So can you use that? I would think so. That's why I included it in this episode. So let's recap today's class, which is how to know when your work is working. Point number 1, know your key performance indicators and measure them. Remember that life is a performance-based business, so the only way you're going to know if you are performing and getting towards results is that you have to figure out what are you going to measure that tells you you're getting closer or further away. Measure them strategically, measure them consistently, and then make your adjustments as you need to. Number 2, do not get married to your habits and routines. Any habit or routine that does not produce a result is a success killer because it's a habit. You're doing it automatically and without thinking. However, it is costing you time, effort, and energy, attention, and focus. You got to make sure you get rid of anything that is not helping you get to where you want to get to. And you got to fight against this consciously because habits are a human creation. Number 3, be ruthless in pursuit of results. As I told you the story of Granny Katz, after he faced down cancer, he started sacrificing all his sacred cows, what he thought a restaurant was supposed to be, made a completely different type of restaurant, and it became one of the top restaurants in the country, top restaurants in the world. So you had to go against your human nature and fire some of your habits, eliminate routines when you're after results, but you can't do that unless you know what the results are that you are after. Work on your game. Dre all day.